block, my DSF is 2, I scale it by 2, now all the widths will work for me. Because these portions right here, where we set that width, the layer is not going to control the line that this is. And so we would want to double that or whatever the case might be. Yes, sure.
Is this the same as adjusting it on the properties panel?
Yes. It is. You mean the dialog box?
Yes.
Yeah, same thing. Now, the one thing you want to make sure of is when you move forward off of here, these are all saying by layer. That's what you want these to say. Because everything you draw from now on is affected by that. Okay, so there's a good cutting plane line. Now, what I would do with this is, let's say I come into an 8-inch object, and I need to go all the way through it. I just use the stretch command. Grab it here, pull it out, make it fit whatever I want. If I need this side shorter, I can stretch it down. If I need this side longer, okay, I can stretch it up. I can do whatever to make it fit how I'm going to work. If I want it to be the opposite direction, just mirror it. It's just a line. Okay? Just edit it as you need it when you are going through a drawing. Okay? So do we all know how to create this thing now? Keep in mind, this will appear in the view adjacent to the section view. It shows the location of the cut.
Did you explode it to get it to change the,
I'm sorry, say that again?
to change where the arrows are? Did you just explode that?
No,
I
I never
stretched it.
exploded. I used the stretch command.
Or just,
All right, I think, now there is one caveat on cutting plane lines. It says in the text, it says that the location or the cutting plane line may be omitted if the location of the cut is obvious. That's true, but I want us to have practice drawing cutting plane lines and putting them where they're at so they visualize it. So for us, for the next week or so as we do section views, that is not true for us. We'll do section lines on every drawing we do, at least for the next week or two. Okay? And then we will stop them after that when the location's obvious. And let me kind of quantify that. Okay? I'm going to just jump back to 1614 since my book's already open there. Okay, on this view, this is one, if I was drawing this for my outfit, I wouldn't put this cutting plane line. Okay, just because it's obvious from this view where the cutting plane line has to be. Okay, 'cause I know I'm going through that hole, which is right there. I know I'm going through that one. It's going to be in the center. Again, you do not have to include the cutting plane if the location of the cut is obvious. That is not true for us for the next 2 weeks. Do it on everything. Okay. All right, that's your cutting plane line. Any questions on that? Okay. Now the other line we want to bring out is the section line. We have this on 769, but real quickly I'm going to go back to page 499, the alphabetical lines real quick. I think the alphabetical lines were 499, wasn't it? No, that's the last one.
507.
507. Okay. Now when you do section lines, just remember they're generally a continuous line. They're a thin line. They are a repeating pattern, typically of 45 degrees, 1/8 inch apart. That's the standards that we got from the alphabetical lines on this guy. Now you're going to see this changes a little bit due to the material. I just wanted to remind you of this page. By the way, if you're looking, here's your cutting plane line just to the right of that. Both of them. Back to page 769. Here's a little chart that has a bunch of section lines in it. These are material section lines. So by that, when we produce a section line, we'll kind of define it here in a second, we end up having to add these lines on new surfaces created by the cutting plane line. We try and match them with the material. So if I'm using something like cast iron, I use this pattern, which is really right off of the alphabetical lines. It's a continuous line, 1/8 inch in between, 45 degrees, it's thin, repeating pattern. So that's talking about anything that's really iron. Now if I go with something like stainless steel, I'm going to switch to this pattern. Okay, I got the double thin lines right next to each other. If I've got a soft metal, like maybe bronze, maybe I'm doing some gas work, I go to this pattern. If I've got earth or concrete, concrete's there, earth is this pattern right here. We have some others through here. So you go to the general. Now, this begs the question, do hatch patterns always mean material? I'm going to give you a real gray answer here. Section lines may or may not denote material. We try to denote material. But what if we don't know what we're making the thing out of yet? What if we don't know? Then we might say, okay, well, I'll use cast iron for this, but then we do it, and we're going to say, no, it's not going to be cast iron. Thing's not strong enough. Maybe we got to go titanium. We got to do something else. So we take a stab at it, try and match our material, but if we don't know what it is, use your standard cast iron one. And then we will put it in a legend and say, this is what this means. Then that pattern throughout that drawing will mean this. And notice there's a lot of different things go with it. This is all soft metals, right? Things I can kind of bend. Because I can bend brass, I can bend copper. Gold, you can bend it. Silver, you can just take your hand and bend this stuff, right? So those are soft ones. Why do we use those types of metals? Does anybody know?
They do all kinds of stuff. They're easy to work with too.
Yeah, generally so they don't spark, right?
Mm-hmm.
All gas materials are used in these and stuff because we can't get that. We're doing our white metals. Maybe we're using those, we go with this pattern. Insulation. There's a lot of insulations on here. They've got these two. They don't even have the one that has fiberglass insulation. There's quite a few different ones out there. Your CAD package has more than what's on here also. So just try and match it up as close as possible. Remember, it doesn't have to match it exactly because it may or may not denote material. It will be a repeating pattern of some type. Now, when we do it, whenever we put these lines, so let me just jump back a page. Let's go look at some of these sections. So I'll go right to 16, 17. Where do we use section lines? We use them on areas that have our new surfaces created by the cutting plane line. Generally, you will only have one of these, and then you'll have a blank spot and a blank, then another pattern. Okay. There's an example here on this guy. So here's our cutting plane line. So it's going through the object. Now, if I looked at, this is kind of set up weird where they've got a front, top, left. But keep in mind, as it comes through on the deal, you can kind of see it goes where this stuff to there, that's rock, or what I always used earth when I was doing this, but that's solid right here, right? Okay. What that is that piece right there. So as the cutting plane line goes through that, then we would hatch that to indicate, hey, that thing has mass. I'm indicating a surface. Is this surface really here? No, it's not. It's continuous all the way through here, right? There's no edge. We're just doing it to show that this is where the cut is. So all we're doing is saying this area has mass. It doesn't have section line here because it does not have mass. It's going through this hole right here, which is this one. Okay. So no mass. This area right here isn't hatched. because that's going from here to here. Again, this has all been removed. It's not part of the object. That's air. So therefore, no pattern here. Then again, we got the other side here, which is the same surface as this one. So it's denoting where the cutting plane hits a surface as it cuts through. That's what section lines denote. So, solid, air, solid. We can look at some other examples. $773. This is a pretty good one. This one gives us a little isometric to go with it. So you can see here the cutting plane line. So we're going to cut it right in half. We're going to throw this half away and project to this surface. So I'm projecting from this line, that one, on through. Now as this cutting plane goes through from here to here, am I hitting a material? Yes, I am. That's this, right? And you can see it right here. So I would section line this area. As I come to here, am I hitting material? Yes, I am. I'm hitting this little shelf right here. So from here to here, again, I'm hatched. I come from this hole to there, through there on both sides of the hole, there's nothing there. That's air. It's a hole going through. I do not hatch that. Now I'm going to run solid from all the way through here. This is all air. As I come up this other side, again, I go right through an air or hole. Not hatched. These two are hatched. Notice the same pattern throughout. That denotes that this is one piece. Okay. All the way through. Okay. So this would be a casting as it's made.
Okay, so it's always the top view, and then you turn it to see the opening.
No, it's not always the top view. In this case, they put the cutting plane in the top view, and they section the front view. Because the cutting plane line's got to go in the adjacent view. So here, they use the top. Okay, but it depends on what you really want to look at. I think we just looked at one that came. Let's go back to page 768, and let's look at figure 1618. Okay, here's a case where we did two section views. So section B, this one here, arrows are pointing this way, so I'm looking that way. This half is thrown away, and this thing's rotated to this left side view. Then drawn as is. This cutting plane line, we're going to throw this half away up here. We're going to rotate to the top view, project along the cutting plane line. We can go any direction we wish. It depends on where those interior features are that we are trying to display. Many times when you're drawing these, you'll project them like normal. And you'll get to one view and there's all these hidden lines. You say, oh, I can't hardly even understand this, and I just drew it. So what chance does a person have that never wasn't involved in this process? Well, we ought to start looking into that toolbox and saying, what can I do? Can I do a remove view? Can I do a partial convention? Can I section it? Can I do this to it? And that's what I mean by this toolbox and reaching in and grabbing stuff in the appropriate time. We're going to have a pretty full toolbox here pretty quick. And it just takes practice to learn how to do it. So if we got a nail, we don't reach in and grab a screwdriver, right? We reach in and grab a hammer. It's kind of the same analogy.
Don't talk to my wife about that.
I don't want to get her number.
She is real good at hammering screws.
Okay. There is one other page on these section lines, but it's mostly for manual drafting, of which we're not going to do a lot of, but you will have one worksheet that goes with it. So I'm on page 772, figure 1620. And we're going to come back to this again, but I'll just point it out for now. So here's what our section lines should look like right here. And when you do them manually, here's a lot of the errors that we get. And in fact, we get these on the computer also, so you got to be aware of some of them. The computer won't do this one, where your line weights change and things. That's a manual deal. Again, the computer won't do this one, where somebody's sloppy and they have it cleaned up around the outside. That's a manual thing. This is one you will get on the computer a lot, okay, where your pattern is so dense, you print it and it says black blob. So we'll get that one. We'll also get this one. We're going to show you how to correct those. The angle changing, your line density changing, those are kind of more manual items. When we put text in them, that's what we would rather have. It's where the text has blocked out the hatching underneath it. Do we have a text tool that allows us to do that? Everybody got that now? So going through the 785 point, yeah, it's the background mask, right? One other thing on your hatch patterns when you produce them, let's go to the figure right below, is you do want an angle change off of your object line so that people don't confuse this thin line for something else. So like on this one where my lines are kind of coming at 45, they put a 45-degree hatch in here, I would rotate that hatch. Okay, get it off of that. Get another 15, 20 degrees off of it. He kind of, I think, rotated that one probably about 15 back to a 30-degree angle that the author is saying this is preferred. And it doesn't matter which way you go, just get off of the angle of the object lines around it so that it stands out as a pattern. All right, so when we're doing sections, you have two line types. Cutting plane line, which should have phantom line characteristic, be very thick, should have arrows at 90 degrees denoting line of sight. Section lines will, by the way, cutting plane lines will be in the adjacent view. In the section view itself, you will only interject section lines. These will be thin lines in a set pattern, typically 1/8 inch apart, 45 degrees. I'm going to stop there. Okay, so that's kind of the introduction into these. Tomorrow, we're going to go through the 7 section types. The book actually says there's 8. I disagree with them a little bit. I'll explain that. We'll go through the 7 section types tomorrow. That's going to be Friday, right? Today is Thursday. Then Monday, we're going to go through all the rules of it, and I think this chapter will be done and we'll be moving to another chapter. How many people think they'll finish all their drawings on their sheet? The one that went through, what, G9, I believe?
I thought I went through 8.
They go through 8
No.
by today. Is anybody going to finish that whole thing today? You, Mike?
I'll be close.
Okay. If you two finish, or anybody else finishes, come see me and I'll give you something that we're going to introduce tomorrow. And I'll let you get started on it a little early if you get done, okay? We'll have some drawings to go with this also, but I've got a worksheet to go through the section types first. Any questions for me? Okay, I think that's probably a good intro into this, and we'll move on. The rest of the day is yours, so work on your drawings. Please ask questions as they come up.